Peter Chun is the Chief Executive Officer of one of the world's largest superannuation funds, UniSuper. Peter migrated to Australia from Hong Kong as a little boy. He swapped a career start in medicine for the Bachelor of Economics at Macquarie University and discovered his true calling. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, Sandra.
You arrived to Australia as an 8-year-old with no English. How was that?
Yeah, look, it certainly was a bit of a shock. Growing up in Hong Kong, and then my mum and dad decided to make the decision to migrate to Australia, the two of them being school teachers. We obviously had a big focus on education, and they really wanted to make that sacrifice so me and my siblings could get access to great quality education. I can still distinctly remember landing in Australia, and I'd never seen so much grass. That was seriously, because we grew up in a shoebox in an apartment in Hong Kong, and to come here, not being able to speak English.
How did you learn to speak English?
I think when you're younger, it's a lot easier to actually integrate with your friends through sport. We actually migrated to Melbourne, so had to learn to play Aussie rules, and I grew up playing soccer. I love soccer. Didn't know what to do with you can use your hands, so even that was tough, but I think sport helps you integrate, helps you learn, speak the language. Much more difficult for my parents. Much older, their English is not great, but you know, when you're younger, it was a lot easier.
Mum and Dad ran a Chinese restaurant.
That's right.
Yeah, so the classic
absolutely.
Migrant story.
You know, when the two of them were school teachers, and you can't speak English, you can't teach. So, like most migrant families, you've got to work out how to make a living. And I think we're the very typical Chinese family that owned a Chinese restaurant, a dodgy Chinese restaurant, in the late 70s and early 80s, and that was life.
And why dodgy?
Because, as most of you might recall, in those days, the Chinese food that we serve in this country is not the Chinese food I eat in Hong Kong. I'm not sure we have things called lemon chicken. That's like chicken nuggets with lemon sauce. I'm not sure that that's very authentic Chinese food. Mongolian lamb, I don't think we eat lamb in Hong Kong. So a lot of very, those sorts of food is what we served, but that was what Chinese restaurants were back in those days. I used to work at the restaurant after school. I was a bartender when I was 12, so I'm very good at making cocktails.
Yeah.
I'm pleased nowadays there's actually very, very good Chinese in this country. It's because of the quality of the produce we have in this country is fantastic.
So what made you choose Macquarie University?
Well, here's the interesting thing, like again, just talking about this, the typical Chinese family. So mum and dad wanted their son to do medicine, as you do. And I did quite well at school, so I actually got into medicine at Sydney Uni. But last minute, I didn't want to go into the medicine field. And in those days, we're talking about the late 80s, a lot of the insurance companies in Australia were giving out scholarships for people to go to Macquarie University. At that time, Macquarie University was the only university that had a degree in actuarial studies. And so I applied for one of those scholarships. I didn't particularly want to be a doctor, and so I don't think my parents were too happy with me not going to Sydney Uni to do medicine. Hopefully I've made them proud now.
I'm sure you have. What are your memories of your time there?
Look, it was a very important time for me. I met my now wife, and so that's how I met her, and then a lot of my lifelong friends I met when I was at Macquarie University. So I actually joined the Hong Kong Student Society, because I'm from Hong Kong. I got into dragon boat racing and sport, and back in those days there was a lot of parties and discos. Discos were all the rage, so my fond memories of Macquarie Uni were a lot of the social events actually, not so much the actuarial degree.
Did you do well?
I passed, but I got to say, second year was not the best. I failed 2 subjects and had to redo them. So that was a bit of a wake-up call, and so that made me I guess, really apply myself. I was probably spending too much time at the discos.
Socialising.
But I think I pulled up my socks in third year, and then I finished the degree.
So what were you doing?
So it was a Bachelor of Economics, but I specialised in, it was called Actuarial Studies. And actuaries are mainly in insurance companies. A lot of statistics, a lot of probabilities, finance, accounting, so it was that sort of program. So the Macquarie degree gave you sort of some foundations, and then after university you then have to study the professional program to become a qualified actuary. So in my case, after I finished at Macquarie University, I think it took me another 6 years to qualify as an actuary. And then interestingly enough, after I qualified, I didn't want to be an actuary.
Taking a different road.
Took a different pathway.
Where did that road take you?
I went into funds management and actually took quite a big step backwards, took a very big pay cut, was a product development manager, worked at a place called Bankers Trust because I really wanted to broaden out what I was doing. But I found that having that core foundation of that degree, the actuarial qualification, it helped give me a lot of opportunities. So I think it's been interesting taking a step backwards to then move forwards, and it's really helped my career, and it helped me build a very strong network of, I guess, colleagues in the superannuation and wealth management sectors, and to this day I've remained in that sector.
So tell me about your arrival at UniSuper and what are the changes since you've been here?
So it's a real honour and privilege to be leading an organisation that focuses on the university sector. And just to maybe mention something which led to my parents deciding to leave Hong Kong, it was to do with superannuation, because Hong Kong being a British colony, when my dad turned 45 in the late 70s, you can get access to your early pension if you permanently migrated. So because of superannuation is how we ended up in this country.
Wow.
And now I'm running a superannuation fund that offers defined benefit pensions, and it's connected to the university sector. So I feel like I'm in my dream job. So it's been fantastic. And it coincided with our board making the decision to open the super fund to all Australians.
So that is a really big change. Previously, it was only the university sector?
Yes, it was a closed fund, if you like. So it was created some 40 years ago for university staff. So UniSuper is owned by the 37 universities around the country. Back 40 years ago, it was the retirement savings scheme for its university staff.
It's quite a big fund.
Currently, we manage around $150 billion and we look after about 650,000 members. So we're one of Australia's largest superannuation funds. And at the time, I was recruited when the board made the decision to open the fund, and very much we continue to focus on the university sector. So we're looking to attract students to join UniSuper, graduates, and of course alumni.
Oh, you also have a great record for your diversity programs within UniSuper. Tell me about how that's changed under your leadership.
I think we have a responsibility to ensure that there is more diversity in leadership, and I think for me, having a very inclusive culture is paramount. And when I think about Australia, we are, without a doubt, the world's most successful multicultural society. I mean, the stat is that more than 40% of Australians are either born overseas or their parents are born overseas. So we have this amazing melting pot of different cultures. But yet in leadership, whether it's in boards or in leader roles, it's not that diverse from that lens. And so I believe that we should be thinking about that. What can we do? And certainly I have thought a lot about gender diversity, so that's one aspect that we focus on quite heavily, but also cultural diversity at board level in leadership teams. So I think for me, that's important because we are trying to make decisions that reflect all of society, and you need leaders that actually have some sense of empathy and lived experience for people from different backgrounds. But of course, it is about merit. It's not about quotas or just ticking a box. It's about intentionally thinking that we need more diversity.
Now, you have a very busy work travel arrangement. You commute between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah, so I live in Sydney, but UniSuper, our head office is in Melbourne. So the majority of our staff are in Melbourne. So I am in Melbourne 3 or 4 days a week. So I do the weekly commute. So I've been doing that for about 3.5 years.
Is it tough?
So I spend a lot of time at airports, but I love the role. I love the role. It's a dream role for me, and it's important that I believe in the in-person presence. And as a CEO, you need to be visible. You need to be with your people. So we have about 1,000 people at UniSuper, and so yeah, we've got about 800 of them in Melbourne.
What do you look for when recruiting young people?
Yeah, it's a great question because I recently gave my niece some advice. She's just finished her university degree. She, whilst she was studying, was also very big on social media. So she's got followers, she had a digital channel, she's very big into fashion. And I found that a really distinctive difference. So I would encourage young people to think about something different that they actually have that might differentiate them from others, because it's a very competitive market. I think everyone has amazing results, so it's not about that. I mean, my advice is that in this world now, I think people need to be very curious. They need to continue to adapt and learn. I think having critical thinking, being able to really judge what's important matters. And then the final thing has to be AI, artificial intelligence. I absolutely think that is now so different to when I came through early on in my career. Technology and AI will really define the future workforce. I think a lot of people have this saying, a human with AI will always beat a human without AI. And so I really believe in that. I think young people should really embrace it, be AI fluent, and really try and harness the technology and adapt to what will be an incredibly exciting workplace of the future.
Thank you so very much, Peter. That was absolutely wonderful.
Great to chat to you.